Hello everyone, my name is Sai Katakoda and I'm the Build and Design Captain of FTC Team Circuit Breakers 21829, and welcome back to the FTC CAD series. In our previous video we learned what CAD is and why FTC teams use it, and why Onshape is one of the most popular CAD programs in FTC. In this video, we'll get started with Onshape itself. We'll learn how to navigate the workspace, understand the different menus and tools, and also each type of constraint. By the end of this video, you'll feel comfortable moving around Onshape and be ready to start creating your own CAD designs. Okay, this is the home page of Onshape. On the side, you can see the multiple tabs they have. And over here, after you start making multiple projects and designs, all of them will be listed out over here, and you can navigate and click on them and go there. It'll have all the information by when it was modified by, and owned by. So like who did the modification and owned by. It's like a timeline, and you can see all the changes over here. You can also go on recently opened. This will just take you to the last opened file and also the previous ones. It'll be in a list from most recent to least recent. And then the next tab is, and this is the owned by me tab, where all the files that you have created will be here. None of the files that was shared to you or you're working on or the files you were working on that's owned by someone else will not be here. Only the files that are owned by you. And then created by me is the same thing as owned by me, would be same thing. And then shared with me are the documents that are shared by you by another Onshape user. You're probably working on like a project together, and he shares this document to you so that you can work together. You'll most likely find the document here. And then there's the public tab. Public tab is the tab where you can find everyone else's projects. When you create a design, you'll get an option to make it public or private, and if you make it public, you'll be able to search up. Other people will be able to see your project in this tab, most likely, and you'll be also able to search up like a name or like a theme you're working on, like a robot, and you'll get all the robot parts that have been made by people. You can search up vision cameras, and you'll find the parts or maybe a vision camera and stuff like that in this tab. It's really helpful when you're CADing in a project and you need something that's already been created, and so you don't have to create it once again. It's really helpful. Okay, now we'll begin with starting your own project. So where you see this on the top left, there's a blue button. You click create and you go to document. Folder just creates a folder where you can have multiple documents that are related for the same task. And then you can import files too. You can import 3D files, you can import images, and you can also have an import from. I've never used this. I don't think it's useful. And you just go to import document. This is how you'll create a document, like a first project design. You'll name the document. It's advised to name it something that's relatable or understandable, so when you see the name, you know what exactly it's for. So let's do test 1 for YouTube video, and then we can create documents. Okay, so as you can see, this is your workplace. Okay, and in the bottom tabs right here, you can follow the cursor. It says Part Studio 1. This is where you create the parts. In assembly, you take all the parts that you've created and you assemble them. You can bring them all together using the insert right here, and you can I'll show you later. I'll go further into it, but this is what assembly is used for. You'll go into Part Studio 1, and let me go through all of the tools in the toolbar. So this is sketch. So first you make the sketches. You make a 2D image, and using the 2D image, you'll be able to come out of sketch and use these tools to make it a 3D object, right? This is an extrude tool. So what it does is it takes the sketches and it makes it into 3D. These are all the different types of ways to make your sketch into a 3D object. So revolve, what it does is that you have a line and then you select the line, and it takes one side of the sketch and it revolves it to make it a 3D object. We can also test that later. And the sweep tool, what it does is it takes it in a rotating structure, like the threads of a screw. It's kind of like a spring, and it revolves that. It takes it and sweeps the sketch into like a spring structure or something like that. And then loft makes it into like a it adds to, subtracts from, or intersects parts, surfaces, or thin parts by placing a smooth surface between other profiles. And there's also other ones like enclosed thickness. Yeah. And then these tools on this section of the toolbar, what they do is they modify the 3D object. The fillet, what it does is it takes the corners and curves them. The chamfer, instead of curving them, it just like chips it out. It just like makes edges. And then draft is like something similar but till the bottom. And shell, what it does, if you have like a big cube, it makes it into a box. We can use that later. Hole, what this does is if you can specify a place and it can make a hole there, or if you already have a predefined hole, you can use it and add threads to it. So after you like make your 3D print your objects or send it out for CNC, those objects will have threads for it to be able to use it for like as a screw hole or something like that. And then external threads are basically if you have like a cylinder and you want to make a screw, so these threads will be added to it. But this object, what it does, it doesn't really work. You should never really use it. It's just like a fake threads. We'll have to in our next videos we'll show you how to make real threads. Linear pattern, what it does, if you have to make multiple holes or do multiple action multiple times in a linear way, you use linear pattern and you define how many times you want to how many times you want it to return, or like how many times you want it to be mirrored or not created, and for what distance you can define it there. You also have the other kind of pattern like circular pattern and curve pattern. And there's mirror. What mirror does is you define a axis and then what faces you want to be mirrored to the other side. It's useful for even objects that are like, look the same on both sides. And there's a booleans. When you have multiple parts that are touching but they're separate, you can define select those parts and it will connect them and make it in one single part. You have split. It's pretty self-explanatory. Transform, there are multiple things you can do to transform. What transform does is what you can make it into, you can rotate the object, scale it up or down, or you can even like copy paste it, And then you have modify, fillet. These ones you don't really use, but what the things you'll use are the ones in Sketch. So let's start with our Sketch toolbar. So okay, another way, first let's also use the other types. So you'll see the different planes. These planes are more useful when you already have an object. What it allows you to do is you can select, if you don't have a face you want to make a sketch at, you can use the sketch to like, you can use the sketch and select a predefined face. It allows you to make a thing in the top. And then you can use it's called a cube, right? And the cube allows you to rotate around the object much easily. And you can hit the bottom face, front face, top face, and allows you to look at the object from different angles. And these arrows allow you to rotate it. And then you can use two fingers to look around. Okay, we can start with the sketch now. So we'll click sketch, and after clicking sketch, you have to select a plane. Which are these four planes right here, or three. And you can click on let's click on the top plane. That will take you to the top plane. And to get a better view of the top plane, you click on the cube and you click top. and this gives you a better view. Let's work through some of the tools, and then we'll move on to the project in our sketch. This is the line tool, so it allows you to create a line. If you want it to be straight line, you can go to the relative location for a straight line, and if you look closely, you can see golden dots or yellow dots being formed. Those dots will confirm that it's a straight line. Okay, and then there's two. Let's say there's two lines, right? Let's use this line right here, and if you hover over the dot and go in a relative straight angle, you can see that there's golden dots. That's saying that it's a line that the next dot you'll create the line will be in like, you know, it'll be at the same level as it. So if I create this line, it's perpendicular. If I create a line through this, it'll be perpendicular to this, and it'll also be in the same like plane. And if I create this line like this, it's telling me that it's a straight line too. Okay, and then let's go here, and then let me go right here, right? And then let's go create a dot right here, and then I'm going right here, and I want this line to be parallel to this. What I do is I come up like this, and you can see that one symbol is being created right after my cursor. That is letting me know that the line is parallel to this line. You can delete this. Let's use the rectangular tool next. The rectangle tool allows us to make a rectangle, right? There's no square tool, so what you do if you want to create a square, you use the dimension tool to define the length of the line. So I want it to 70 millimeters, and I have to define this one to also be 70 millimeters, and then I have a square. So you should always define the length of the objects you're creating or the sketches you're creating. It allows your sketch or drawing to be much secure from any altercations that can happen later, and allows you to know what size you're actually creating your object to be. There's also other kinds of rectangles you can create. There's a center point rectangle where there's a dot, and then you create it like this, and then after you define it, this usually stays the same. So if I create 50 and then 50 right here, it's the same thing, it's just you start from the center instead from the corner. There's also a circle tool, which allows you to create circles. There's multiple types of circles. You can create an ellipse. You can make a 3-point circle. So you have 2 defined points right here, and then you can define where the circle goes. And the other normal circle tool is just a circle. You start from the middle, and it creates a circle. And you use the define tool. You can define the diameter of the circle. Just let's say 50 mm. The circle is 50 mm. Right. Yeah, that's basically it. Next is the arc tools. So there's tangent arc. So let's say if I have a line like this, right, and then I have tangent 3-point arc. You can click 2 points, and then you can just make an arc, and you click the 3rd point to see what the rate, like the curvature of the circle will be. If you're at this point, this will be an exact half circle, and you'll know when you have 3 squares at the bottom. This is a like exact semicircle. Let's look at the other one. There's a tangent arc, which you can, using one of the line dots, you can create a tangent arc. If you see that golden dot, that means it's a perfect semicircle. And then you can do this to like figure out. And it's just, you can mess around. It's useful when you need it. Then there's a center point arc, elliptical arc. Those are not really used. That's a spline. You click multiple dots to make a line. Just a point. You can make a point on the line. It's pretty simple. This is a text. You can type the text in, and then it will make it into a thing. Okay. Not really used. construction line. What construction line does is that if you have a line, okay, let's see. Let me read it. So you click a line and then you click construction. So it just defines a line to not be a line that's being used in the project. It's just a line so that you can use for other purposes, like to find the middle of the thing or something like that. And you can do it for any other shape, like rectangles and circles. You just to click the tool first and then click construction. All these tools you'll learn throughout the project. You can just learn later. Let's go through the constraints. So these are constraints. So you have coincident. What basically it means is that if you have two lines or two objects and you click them and you click constraint of two constraint, it'll put them in the same location, or it'll combine them basically. They have concentric. What concentric does is makes any point coincident with the center of an arc or a circle, and makes a selected arc and circles share a center point. So if you have like two circles, they'll be in the center and they'll have the same center point. Parallel, what it does, like I showed you, if there's two lines, it'll make them parallel to each other. You can make it you can also check if it's parallel while creating the line, but you can, if they're not, you can just click this constraint and click on the two lines and it'll make it parallel. Tangent, if there's a line in a circle, what it does is if you click them, it'll make it the line will be tangent to the circle. Horizontal, if you just have a random line to ensure that it's like horizontal, you'll just click it, it'll make it horizontal. Same with vertical. If you have two lines for perpendicular and they're intersecting each other, but you don't know if it's 90 degrees on both sides, you click on perpendicular and it'll ensure that's 90 degrees. What equals does is if there's two entities and one has a defined dimension, like let's say two circles, right? And you click equal, the two circles will be equal now. Midpoint, what it does is that if there's a line or an object through a straight thing, and you click on both objects, it will take you to the midpoint. Symmetric, fixed, curvature. What fixed does is it puts it in place. Curvature makes it a curve. Pierce makes it pierce through. Yep, that's really it. Okay, now we can start off with your project. So to start off with your project, let's go to corner rectangle and create a rectangle. Let's click the dimensions tool and let's make it 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. Okay. For this, what we'll have to do next is we'll click OK. And then we'll make it, we'll click the extrude tool. Using the extrude tool, we want it to be a cube, right? And because it's 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, we would want this to be 100 millimeters, as a cube is the same length on three sides. Okay, as we create this, okay, there's multiple ways to make this into a box, okay? There's the shell tool, like I told you before. What you do is you just click the face above, and then this box is created, right? But I want to show you the more traditional way of creating a box, right? I just Control Z it and it's gone. So what we're gonna do is create a sketch on the face, the top face of the box. So using the sketch, you can create it on any of you click sketch and you click any of the faces, and that's where the sketch will belong. That's how the sketch tool is super useful. And right here on the top of this box, what I want you to do is I want to make a smaller square. That's where the hole will be created, and this hole will allow us to make the opening for the box, you know what I mean? So there's two ways you can do it. The first way is you can just take a line, create it like this, and then mirror, make 3 more lines, and then there's a smaller square in the middle, right? So let's see, let's make a line. You saw that there was gold dots, and that ensures that it's a straight line. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just making the lines just like that. We can use the dimensions tool later to ensure that they are the same length away from it. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now I have these random lines, right? And I'll use the dimensions tool. So as you can see, I'm not clicking on any of the buttons. It's because I'm using the shortcuts. If you hover over the lines, or the tools, you can see that it says smaller case D, which is indicating that that's the shortcut for it. So if I click small d or D on the keyboard, it will go to dimension tools instantly. Okay, so let's say I want this to be 10 millimeters. Okay, and I can just create random dimensions right here. Okay, and then we're gonna use the equal constraint. You know what? I want this to be 5. Okay, so now we'll use the equal constraints to never mind. Wait. Never mind. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. We'll just make this all 5 then. I thought you could click the thing and make it 5. But yeah, cut that out. Okay. So now that we have 5, what we can do is go out and go to extrude and then click remove. What it does is it removes the object from there. Okay, as we know, it's 800 millimeters high. You can just make the subtraction here. We want the bottom face to have the length of, or depth of 5, thickness of 5, right? 5 millimeters. So I'll do 95 millimeters. So here, it'll take off 95 millimeters, and you can see there's a box. Now we'll do the other way from creating. So let's go click Ctrl Z and go back to Sketch, and let's delete this. And I'll show you the other way of creating this. The next way of creating it is just using a rectangle. You can either use a corner rectangle or a center rectangle. It doesn't matter. You'll just do the same thing right here. 5 millimeters. Wait. Let's define the other sides too, I guess. 5. 5. 5. 5. Okay. And now you can see we have another square. We can do the same thing, extrude, remove, okay? And then that's one way of just doing it. But the most efficient way of doing it is using the offset tool. So what the offset tool does is you can select this line, and you can select this line, this line, this line. And what this allows you to do is make a square inside of the thing, and you can define how thick you want the edges to be. And look at this, it just made the square, and it's much easier, and it equals the distance for all 4 of them, all of the 3 sides, and you have a proper square. That was much faster than the other methods that were shown, and it's the most efficient one. So now, but regardless of that, the most efficient one was, I would say, the shell tool, but it doesn't matter. In the sketch world, you can use this. It's the best one. And then you go to remove again, and I would just put 95. Okay, and now you have your box. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped you become more comfortable with navigating on Onshape and using some of the tools. In our next video, we'll show you how to access and set up your FTC parts library so you can start designing with official FTC components. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.